Hi there, greetings and salutations. Derek, you tell me I never talk right into the microphone, right? I got to talk right into it. And then I look, you're always getting on me about not talking into the microphone. And when you decided that you were going to simulate the scissor thing, you were talking and you were nowhere near a microphone.
I did have to temporarily go off mic, yes, for that. By the way, great response. Great response from Lou Malnati's people. Great response from our fans. Great response from people who aren't even every week listeners of the show.
We have no fans. We have nobody who would know of this show that is not a regular viewer, right?
There are plenty of people. Word of mouth.
Okay.
Word of mouth. It's spreading everywhere, especially after the scissors thing.
It's been 12 years.
Especially after the scissors thing.
I should hope by now. It's a slow-moving process, right?
People enjoy the fact that we have fun with, like, all of our sponsors on here. We have had a fun segment, at least one fun segment with.
Do you want to mute your computer since we're doing a live
Oh, actually, that's my other computer. That's over there.
You have two computers?
Yes. Yeah, I have two.
Well, how important are you?
I know. Yeah. I have a lot of them.
Hi there. My name is Jake Query. That is apparently the very important and multitasking Derek Schultz. This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, now charitably award-winning Query and Schultz program on the ISC Sports Network. Lot to talk about today, even though it's kind of like this weird dead period, right?
I think particularly for NFL news, it is. So this is kind of the first time where, I mean, last week we were recapping the Super Bowl, right? Doesn't that feel like it was a month ago? This period between now and the Combine, you know, the coaching cycle's done, right? So everybody's got their new head coach, and it's all happy candy canes, gumdrop, sugar plum fairies, optimism for all the fan bases. I think that's happening in Indianapolis as well. So whenever the NFL is on a down cycle news-wise, I feel like everything feels like it's on a down cycle.
I mean, you've got the NBA also was on the All-Star break.
True.
You know, college basketball, Purdue's basically now in a dead week, because they get Indiana on Saturday, but after their blowout of Ohio State, they've got time off. Indiana's got Michigan State, which is going to be an emotional game for the Spartans, understandably, because of what's taking place there. But and then Butler getting beat by Patrick Ewing.
We were there, yeah. My dad and I went yesterday.
Did you see Patrick Ewing?
We did.
Did you meet him?
No, we did not meet Pat. We specifically went because my dad likes to go and see. He likes to go to the Georgetown game to see Patrick.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're Butler fans. We were there rooting
last chance to do it,
for
right?
Butler, and we thought this is probably going to be our last chance to see Patrick Ewing. It's their first road win in 22 tries, I think, dating back 2 years.
Did they act like it?
I mean, yeah, they looked relieved. The players that they actually came through. They trailed the whole way. Butler controlled the game really until the final couple of minutes, but then the offense just went dry. Butler scored 8 points in the final 11 minutes.
I've always wondered this. What is a Hoya?
It's got to be a type of dog, right? Because they've got a dog mascot.
It's a plant.
What?
It's a hallucinogenic plant.
Are you sure about this? Okay. Are you sure?
Look up the definition of Hoya. I'm 90% certain I'm right here. There has to be, for Georgetown, there has to be some sort of an alternate what a Hoya is. But by definition, Hoya is, I believe, a
Why
plant.
are they called the Georgetown Hoyas?
Not that. Look
the
up what a Hoya
team name
is.
derived from the mixed Greek and Latin chant Hoya Saxa, meaning what rocks, which gained popularity at the school in the late 19th century. The name Hoyas came into use in the 1920s.
I mean, it's a cool name.
What is a Hoya?
Okay.
This is from the official Georgetown athletics site.
Well,
mascot, this is Jack the Bulldog. Why is his name Jack? He followed Stubby, who was a terrier named Hoya. Okay. It just says the same thing about Hoya Saxa. It says nothing about a hallucinogenic plant.
Look Hoya definition.
Okay. Hoya definition.
I don't know why you question me in these things. This always happens.
A climbing or sprawling evergreen shrub with ornamental foliage and waxy flowers native to Southeast Asia and the Pacific and grown as a greenhouse or indoor plant.
Okay.
Can we do have things to talk about today on the show?
Are you going to give me credit for knowing that it's a plant?
Okay, great. Yeah, congratulations. Sure, that's very noteworthy knowledge there to have. But yes, not a great. I mean, Butler, you knew this was going to be a down year. I think it's a little bit surprising how non-competitive again they've been, but this is cycling through some rosters that just don't have Big East talent. There aren't enough Big East players on that roster.
I have long said, and I'm not going to make a huge thing of this, I have always felt like, and I understand 100% understand why they did it. I totally get it. Why Butler went to the Big East. And yes, I heard some people say like, well, from an athletic standpoint, it's the prestige for the university of being in the Big East. Okay. I felt like from a basketball standpoint, Butler, the Atlantic 10 was the perfect league for them. Mm-hmm. And then, people that are the smartest people in the room are like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's huge for the university because of the money that comes in athletically beyond. It's so nuanced to talk about just basketball. I get that. But again, I'm talking about just from a basketball standpoint. If you were analyzing it strictly from a basketball standpoint, I feel like the Atlantic 10 is a better fit league for them. Now, I've talked to other people since then, since everybody told me I'm an idiot, that have said the Big East move for Butler as a whole, athletically, is actually really challenging on their athletic department. Because, yes, they get more money for basketball. But your women's cross-country team is having to go into, and instead of when you're staying in Dayton, Ohio, or
Kalamazoo, Michigan,
or when you're staying in those places, you're staying in Hampton Inns. When you go to Washington, D.C. to play Georgetown, when you are going to Queens to play St. John's, when you're going to, those places, Seton Hall, you're staying now in – everything is more expensive. Mm-hmm. From a financial standpoint, there are a lot of areas – and I'm getting this specifically from people working within the athletic department. There are areas where it is becoming challenging for Butler in the Big East. I get that they get more basketball money, and I get that there is prestige of being in the Big East. Totally get it. But from an X's and O's standpoint in terms of competitiveness and the overall spread of the dollar, I felt like the Atlantic 10 was the best fit. But anyway, neither here nor there. They're in the Big East now. Problem is they're in the cellar of the Big East. How do they get out of it?
It's going to take a couple of, at least a recruiting cycle probably, for it to happen. Thad Matta is the right guy because
I would agree with that.
Didn't forget how to coach, and he's not going to let himself fail. He's not going to come back to get embarrassed at Butler in this presumably final stint for him. So I just think it's going to – my answer is time. There is no reason why Butler – I'm not asking Butler to be UConn or Villanova. There's no reason why Butler can't be Creighton. Right. There's no reason why Butler can't be Providence. Those are programs that should be peers. They should not be above them. People even say Xavier. Xavier, I think, is a little bit of a higher bar.
I will say, at this point, it looks like this could be a blip. It's not a pattern yet, right?
No, and I think this is also the product of you can't always make it with chewing gum and Butler way pixie dust. Like sometimes, you stop getting lucky. And I think they didn't get lucky. They got very lucky. They fell into Chris Holtmann because of the Brandon Miller disaster. And the second time around, when Holtmann left them late in the year and they panic hired LaVall Jordan, they didn't get lucky because LaVall Jordan's not a Big East level head coach.
Right.
He's not. So that's kind of where, not to lay it all on LaVall. I think there are other things, administratively that, Butler wants to be big and then be small at the same time. And you got to pick a lane.
That's fair.
You can't straddle the fence. So, Butler wants to tell you about how we're Big East, we're big, and then they also want to cry poor all the time. And it's like, look, you got to pick a message here and stick with it. Are you all in on athletics? Are you going to do this? You want to be big boy school? Go for it. You don't want to do that? Then maybe you should have stayed in the A10 or the Horizon.
That's a perfect way of saying it.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I didn't expect to lead the show with that, but yeah, that's kind of where I am with it.
But we talked about the fact that, that was the Butler game yesterday and then the All-Star game, but the NFL is kind of in a down period or a dead period. But that's not to say, Derek, that there's not still plenty of work to do for the Colts.
No, and I didn't want to get on here and start recapping the Shane Steichen press conference because that's been dead and gone. That's been done.
Right.
The problem with doing the show once a week is that when something happens on Tuesday afternoon, it feels like it's been a month since it happened, right?
In today's world, a week is a year ago.
But there is a lot still yet to get to. Notably, I wouldn't call any of the Colts free agents must-sign guys. I think they just have a crop of very interesting free agents. E.J. Speed is interesting to me. I think you want to bring him back, right? Paris Campbell is interesting to me. It's not the obvious core pillar piece guys, but there are guys that are good. Yeah, if the money's right, for sure.
Listen. Kudos to him. He had a good year, and he stayed healthy, and he was productive. I think we now know that he is not the Jamar Chase stretch the field level dynamic player he was thought to be, but he's a nice player.
Yeah. If Paris Campbell's your third guy, that's a pretty good spot to
Correct.
be. And I think the right offense coordinator and the right quarterback can really unlock a healthy Paris Campbell and make him a great piece of a good offense.
Who's the quarterback going to be?
The thing with Steichen is that it could be anybody because he can.
You're right.
The best thing about him in this process is that I think they saw what he did with Hurts and with Herbert and with Rivers, and they said, hey, this guy can mold our offense to whoever the quarterback is.
Yeah, because those are three different guys.
Yeah, so it could be Bryce Young. It could be the one that I think would surprise me a little bit is, unless he was the only guy left, which I guess is possible with trade downs and stuff, is Levis. But I don't know. I'm not going to rule any of them out.
Levis, supposedly Chris Ballard's high on Levis. I don't know how supposed that is, or how real that is.
I mean, supposedly Irsay's high on Young, right? He made that little, it could be an elaborate smokescreen, but he made that little comment.
Well, there's a lineman from Alabama that could be in he just said the guy from Alabama.
I can tell you, very rarely in Indianapolis have I felt like, oh my God, if this happens, the city is going to burn down. The city will burn down if they end up drafting like some lineman with the fourth pick, man. The city will burn. Pack your bags. Do what you need to do. Say goodbye to loved ones. Get on it. Crossroads of America. So you can go 65. You can go north. You can go south. You can go east. You can go west. You can even go wherever I-74 goes. Just go. You got to get out.
What do you mean wherever it goes?
I don't know. It's kind of I-74 is one of those weird.
I like how they
roads,
listed as 74 west, and it goes like direct. It's like northwest.
Yeah,
right?
it goes like. It even seemingly goes
why
like
why
up
does
and down.
74 go all the way through the city? Wouldn't that be confusing if you had to go from Peoria to Cincinnati?
Yeah, and you thought that was Indianapolis, like Shelbyville, and you're like, is this Indy? Jeez.
Come in. Think about this.
Oh.
Think about this. If you were driving from Peoria to Cincinnati, you come in, and when you hit 465, you go around that very southern little court, like the Pilot there on 67, and then you take it around to Brookville Road, and you go.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your impressions of Indianapolis at that point?
Not easy. Yeah.
I mean, it ain't nothing but truck stops and smokestacks. Indy, there ain't nothing there, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't know if you're impressed. I know you go by the skyline on 70, but given the fact that it's like a 4-lane highway and it's 50 miles an hour for some reason and it's got potholes all over the place, you wonder if.
Well, there's that art area.
People see that.
As you pass the airport, there's like those 5 pastel painted, like cement round balls.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's supposed to beautify that area.
Yeah. Really pretty. It's a great testament to our city.
By the way, speaking of home, Indianapolis is home regardless of what we think about the drive on 74. Bailey & Wood is your mortgage leader. And Bailey & Wood, of course, is the presenting sponsor here, Corey and Schultz. We are always happy to be able to say that. Bailey & Wood, making sure that your money is staying home when it comes to getting your mortgage rates and the best rates that you can get right here in Indiana because they are committed towards Central Indiana. Their philanthropic work proves that alone. Bailey & Wood, Derek, their contact information is?
855-350-HOME, BAWFG.com. Sorry, we have a lot of phone numbers that we have to
BAWFG.
BAWFG.com, BAWFG.com.
BAWFG.com.
Yes.
That is the contact information for Bailey & Wood. And we are inside the Lou Malnati studio. Lou Malnati's, as Derek had talked about, what's the latest on the ribbon cutting?
It's all systems go. All systems go. And just one scissor. Is it one scissor or is each blade a scissor? So it is scissors. Even if I'm just talking about one.
It's one pair of scissors.
One pair of scissors. Okay, so one pair of scissors.
So you're cutting.
No. I'm not going to act that out again. You remember from last week. That's how it's going to be. One thrust.
Okay.
Both of us.
Okay.
Snip.
We agreed to not use the word thrust. Mm-hmm. After your botched experiment with the snip, we decided not to use that word too, right?
Why is my botched? I haven't procreated since then.
Your master plan?
Oh yeah, I mean I was going to watch basketball and all of that, but I'm like not producing viable sperm. You made it botched. You made it sound like it was like it went wrong. Like the vasectomy went okay.
Your whole master plan went up in smoke because you decided to have a vasectomy and it shut the world down.
But they successfully singed my vas deferens. Like I does not travel from my testes anymore. So that assessment of the botched is wrong. Let's get that in post. I don't like that word botched because that makes it sound like they did a great job. Actually, they were in and out of there. Bada bing, bada boom.
Derek, when you say vasectomy, people know what it is. We don't need the medical scientific explanation.
We have a lot of men who listen to this show, so we talk. And not only do we talk about sports, we talk about male issues and things like that, and that's what we're discussing on the program
as well. Who are like, "What are you talking about?"
It's just.
Do you not know what's going on at the State House? Do we need to talk about that?
We're all adults here. Okay. It's just science.
Well, I'm the well-groomed, and that's the groomer. This is Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network, right?
No, let's get that in post too. Let's just this whole show. Let's just let's start over, Vince.
So we're burning the city and the show. Is that it?
Yeah. Let's just. I don't know. I don't like the direction of this show. When are we going to talk about like Colts
why don't
free
you
agents?
redirect us, or you could do our Lou Malnati's Look Who's Cooking.
Before we get to Lou Malnati's Who's Cooking, let me just mention, because this is kind of the next step, even before the quarterback, is what's going to happen in free agency when the new league year starts. And some of those names that we mentioned, not only Paris Campbell and EJ Speed, but Yannick Ngakoue, Bobby Okereke, Chase McLaughlin's technically a free agent. I mean, I think you want to bring him back, right?
Yeah,
Ashton Doolin, who's been a core special teams player, it hasn't been the breakout that we thought we were going to get from him. But Rodney McLeod was a very important veteran for that defense this year. Tyquan Lewis, the poor guy, if he could just stay healthy, he could be a good depth piece.
I know,
so
that's a big if.
So that list, like, I'm not losing sleep if the Colts lose any of those guys.
Derek, Bobby Okereke, the signing of Bobby Okereke, the amount that they are willing to give him, or the commitment they show in trying to re-sign him. They may not. That tells me a lot about what they think or anticipate in terms of the health of Shaquille Leonard.
Because I think they're priced out. If they think Shaquille Leonard is going to come back healthy and be the Shaq Leonard that we're used to seeing, then Okereke is not going to be back.
I know, but he was a good player.
No, for sure he was. But I'm just saying, like, I completely agree with your point. If they go all in on Okereke, then you're probably thinking to yourself, uh-oh.
Correct.
Now we're in trouble here with whatever's happening with Shaq Leonard.
I just think Bobby Okereke to me feels like probably a Marcus Washington type thing where if he were to go elsewhere, like Mike Peterson, there have been linebackers that went elsewhere and were decent. Mike Peterson, David Thornton, they went elsewhere and were Cato June. Cato June fell off, but he was kind of an out-of-position linebacker. When I look at Marcus Washington, he's a guy that went to Washington and signed as a free agent and kind of petered out. And I feel like Okereke might be that guy. In other words, I think Indianapolis is a really good situational fit for him.
Yeah.
But whether or not you got to go where the money is.
Yeah, for sure. And, another guy that they'll have to make a decision on is Ngakoue, who he ended up, if you look at a piece of paper and you list out his stats, you're like, hey, this is pretty good. Right. But if you watch the games, you were like, Ngakoue to me felt like the guy that would come down the court and hit 2 threes when your team's down 15 in the final 2 minutes.
Ray Langford.
Right? Yeah.
My phrase for this has always been a Ray Langford guy. Ray Langford was a wonderful player when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals, but his home run numbers, he hit 18 home runs a year, and 14 of them were after the 8th inning in a 9-run game.
Yeah. It's just weird where he's just teeing off, right? Yeah. It's just weird that Ngakoue – because – it's funny, we did the same thing. When he came here, you looked at the stat sheet and you were like, why does this guy keep getting traded or released, right? Why is nobody signing him? And I think we saw why. Like, he's fine, but he's not like a core piece for your pass rush.
What else do we have to get to? Oh, our
Lou Malnati's, yeah.
Lou Malnati's,
let's do it. Off topic a little bit, but Jake is obviously a huge racing guy. I mean, he's at a dirt track every night.
That's right.
Seemingly during sprint week and all of that. But Daytona 500, of course, was yesterday, and it's still something that I feel like I have to tune in for.
Daytona 530.
Yes, 5:30. Yeah.
212 laps.
Speaking of 5:30, after 5.5 hours, they crowned Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
That's right.
As a new champion. So he is my Who's Cooking for this week.
And good for Ricky Stenhouse Jr. This is a guy that Derek probably unfairly, he was a guy there was a lot of expectation about him as a younger driver, and then he kind of became known as the guy that was dating Danica.
Yeah, big time.
And went through a lull there where he had a 5-year stretch without a win, and has always been good. I likened him this morning to like Kirk Cousins. You know, a guy that like probably early exceeded expectations. So then there was a bigger expectation for him. And because he didn't meet that, people were like, oh, I don't know. And they kind of mocked him.
Yeah.
But he's been a solid competitor. And good for him to be running up front. And as you saw in the picture, they're sponsored by Kroger's.
Kroger's, yes. But he just his first win since 2017 and only the third win of his career. And
it's a big one.
Daytona lends itself to that. I mean, it's always been a little bit random, but now it's becoming, I think, far more random with some – I'm not saying that everybody that's winning this race is Trevor Bayne, but, like, you're getting guys that are journeymen or guys that are like, really? Like this guy?
You know what I was
that
thinking
are winning
about?
That race.
I was thinking about this as I was watching it. When the other day, somebody posted an old news clip of Ed Sorensen from 2002.
I saw it, yeah, because you reposted it.
And Ed at the end of it's like, our buddy Dave First is leaving tomorrow for Daytona, for speed weeks and everything else. I mean, it used to be, Derek, that every local television station, Channel 6, Channel 8, Channel 13, Channel 59, they were in Daytona the whole week. I mean, everybody got down there like on Tuesday. The Gatorade duels and the whole, a week's worth of coverage. Live at 6, live at 11, nonstop. And I mean, Indy was one of 20 markets doing that. I mean, it was massive, the amount of coverage. I'll bet you there wasn't, and this is more about local news and the change of that than it is NASCAR per se. But how many out-of-market television stations do you think were down there yesterday?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Charlotte, right?
Probably.
I would think that maybe some of the Central Tennessee, Knoxville, maybe because of like
think
Bristol
so?
And whatever else.
I
would think deep in the heart of NASCAR country, you'd have a couple. That's an easy trip.
Did you even hear it like discussed on local news?
Like,
over
is
the weekend?
the Fox affiliate in Los Angeles sending somebody to Daytona?
Correct.
Of course not.
Exactly.
Of course, they probably were in 2003,
right?
But not now,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was massive.
But you know what, Jake? To spin that back positively. Since COVID,
well, that's more about local news than it is national.
Sure, and since COVID, motorsports numbers across the board are way up.
Right.
So I think people are starting to fall back in love with it. I think it's kind of like what Tom Brady has done to discussing quarterbacks. The NFL has ruined everything when it comes to sports discourse and what's popular and what's not. Nothing can be compared to the NFL anymore.
Right.
It's not fair. It's apples and bowling balls. So let's just appreciate these sports for what they are.
What's wrong with apples and oranges?
And just maximize what you have. NASCAR's never going to be what it was in 2003, just like baseball's never going to be what it was in 1984. You just have to appreciate it. Let's maximize what it can be right now. And I think NASCAR is still a good product, which I feel like I have to defend more often than I should in Indianapolis.
Give me a position in baseball.
I don't know. Catcher?
84, Lance Parrish, Gary Carter, American League, National League, respectively. All-Star games, look it up. Guarantee it. Look up the 84 All-Stars.
Okay, just relax.
We
already did Hoya, so I don't want to.
Lance Parrish and Gary Carter.
MLB All-Star game.
1984.
What a mess of a first segment this has been. Vasectomies and Butler and foliage and the 1984 All-Star game. Catcher, Lance Parrish for the American League All-Stars, representing the National League All-Stars. Oh, Jody Davis.
Nope.
Yep.
No, Gary Carter.
Jody Davis.
It's Gary Carter.
Jody Davis on there. Oh, I'm sorry. Bob Brenly. No. Yeah. Bob Brenly was the representative.
Guaranteed Gary
Carter. I'm reading it wrong. Tony Pena.
Okay, now that might be because he had the one leg out. He was cool.
All right, fine. It was Gary Carter. Do the NL, the rest of the NL real quick. I feel like we've done this before, specifically with 1984.
Okay.
First base.
First base is tough, but I will go with my first guess is going to be Garvey.
Yes. Okay. He was a hero of that year, I was going to say. At least
second
not
base, Ryan Sandberg.
Yep.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
Yep. Third is easy.
Third base, Mike Schmidt.
Yep.
Okay, outfield becomes a little bit tricky.
Left, center, right.
Hang on.
Right
these
field, are all guys that I would have guessed.
Andre Dawson? Mm-mm. Tony Gwynn.
Tony Gwynn, left field, yep.
Okay.
Center. Two-time MVP, but is not in the Hall.
Hang on.
Really great player, but I think he might have had too short of a P. I don't know why he's actually kept out.
Not Tim Raines?
No, played for the Braves.
Dale Murphy.
Yeah.
Of course. Gosh, how did I not know that Jason Keller went nuts when he had to field a grounder and throw it to Ryan Sandberg? And then right field, Give me the club.
Mets.
Oh, Strawberry.
Yeah.
You want to do the American League?
Wonderkind. No, I really don't because we have a full show to do.
Okay.
So I'll
Whitaker,
pass.
Alan
I said I'll pass on the American League.
Okay.
Thanks. We'll come back and talk college basketball.
Were you not
More features to get to, including Bayard or Bowl Bleep. That's next. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
So much for joining us. It's Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network alongside the very handsome Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Chateau Kitchens. Sorry, I figured that no one would know if you were going. We should just do that for a full segment of the show.
That'd be great.
It's basically what you do now. Just kind of sit there unless you bring up some asinine topic. Chateau Kitchens is breaking ground. We talked about the Lou Malnati's ceremony. Maybe we should do a ceremony for Chateau breaking ground on my basement. March 2nd. So we have a date.
You've been talking about your basement
I know,
for a year
and now
and a
we
half.
have it's our fault. We've been dragging our feet. It's not Chateau's fault. Making our selections, we couldn't decide. Do we do the darker floor? Do we do the lighter floor?
Okay, what kind of floor?
Well, it's got to be like the vinyl plank flooring because our basement is real funky and it has dips in it, so they're leveling it out the best that they can.
What about
but we
the
can't
walls?
do
What are
like
you
a
doing with the
hardcore.
walls?
Just drywall. I mean, we're just framing it and then drywall.
Okay, and then you're doing like a room down there, like
It's going to be
fully finished, or
you've been in my basement. It's 2 rooms. So we're going to do like a pantry sort of thing in the first room. And then the second room, which doesn't have the HVAC unit or any of that stuff, is going to be a laundry room. And then remember that random toilet?
Yeah.
We're not making that into a bathroom, but it has all the hookups for water and all of that. So it's going to be a laundry room on one side and then a living space
What'd
on
you
the
do
other
with the
side.
toilet?
We ripped it out, finally.
Where'd you put it?
The plumber took it. The problem is that I think I told you, we bought this. It's a 100-year-old house, and I went down there. That was going to be like my toilet to use. And I didn't realize that on the antique toilets, the flushing speed is no bueno. So I went down there and used the toilet, and it didn't get all of the solid stuff. The liquid stuff mostly went down, but it didn't get all of the solid. So
my dad, fairly early in this show. Might have been the time you became a father. I don't know.
It's professional. You got to talk into the microphone there.
My dad said to me, "I want to talk about the program you do on the radio." And I said, "Okay." And he said, I enjoy it. I think you're knowledgeable, but you do a little too much potty talk." And I said, "Well, that's not me. That would be when, I think you were potty training your kid."
Yeah, we did discuss that on the show.
I thought that was probably the last time that we were going to be discussing things like of that subject matter.
You asked about the toilet, so it's funny. You open the door on this stuff, and then you get all mad about it.
Why would you need your own bathroom in the basement for just you?
Well, because of the smell. Jake, this is hard to explain to you because you don't like Vince and Jordan know what I'm talking about because they live with their significant others. You don't live with Shannon. So sometimes there are things that are normal male functions that cause distress to the women in your household, and that is one of those things. So out of courtesy and to be polite, I thought it would be good to have a poop in place, and instead we're not able to have that. Sorry, for lack of a better term.
I'd like to thank those of you who have been fans of this program and supported it over the years. And this, what is inevitably and without question probably the last ever episode of Query and Schultz. And when this particular show gets flushed away, you can look back on that moment that we just shared. That moment that we all collectively sat there and witnessed, which inevitably means the end. That was basically Fonzie jumping over the shark. That's what you just saw. You just knew right then there was no.
We're all mature here. These are important issues to talk about, but I will say this is probably the worst show that we've ever done, just off of vibes. Like the vibes of this show have just. This has not particularly been a good one. So let's change that. Good vibes. Chateau Kitchens, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram and Facebook for before and after pictures. And then, of course, we'll post some pictures of my basement. And maybe me getting out of the shower again when we're talking Chateau. Here's what we do with Biter Bowl Bleep. I give a statement, Jake, and I go back and forth over the Biter. It's Bowl Bleep. You ready for statement one? The NBA
I've never been more ready for anything in my life.
The NBA
I'm ready for statement one.
Should dump, no pun intended, the traditional game format and just do the all-star festivities. Biter Bowl Bleep.
Yeah, Derek, I don't know what the answer is here, but that was...
It was a joke.
Bad. I mean...
It was stupid.
I know. I turned it on, the all-star game, and I like how they've done it in the fact that then it comes down to the fourth quarter. They have that formula.
Target score. Yeah, I like that too.
Yep. And guys ramp it up a little bit. But I turned it on last night, and I'm like, this is a total farce. I don't know who would have watched it for more than 5 minutes because it reminded me of that year. There was a time where the Pro Bowl was fairly competitive football.
Yeah.
And then one year out of nowhere, I remember turning it on, and I'm like, did they get together and decide that this is touch football?
Like 10 years ago, I know what you're talking about.
Literally,
yeah.
I mean, like the linemen were just standing up, and and that's what it felt like last night for the first time. It was like that knob was turned to the point where, I mean, it was terrible. Like I'm watching it, just going, what am I watching here?
Yeah, I don't need them to be on a 10, but I need it to be a 5.
It was
awkward. It was a 1.
It was awkward at times because poor Nikola Jokic had no idea what was going on. Like, they're passing it to him, and he's like, what am I supposed to do here? Like, because there would be 1 or 2 passes, and then whoever gets it the second pass, they go in for the dunk, and everybody just stands around and watches. Yeah. It was terrible.
Like, I think Tatum scored 55, and you're like, this is a joke to say that he scored 55 points. Like, I could have scored 55 points with the way that he was defended in that game. And generally speaking, they do ramp it up at the end, but the ramp up never came because I tuned back in and nothing happened.
It was bad.
But
it was really
is,
bad.
Like, you could do flag football, right, for the NFL. What does the NBA do? You're going to have a game, so
the festivities and stuff. I mean, the dunk contest was cool.
Yeah,
but a guy won it that was in the G League.
You need to have NBA players in the dunk contest.
You're right.
No one knows who any of those guys are. I mean, I only know McClung because he was a high-level recruit and was at Georgetown for a little bit.
Right.
Like, that's the only reason. And one of the guys' sons was in the game.
Wasn't
right?
McClung wasn't he like a YouTube sensation in high school for his dunks?
Maybe. Because he looks like you would never pick him out. Like, if you were picking teams for a dunk contest, you'd never pick that dude. But he can seriously jump out of the gym.
Yeah.
But it's still, Jake, I mean, Michael Jordan won the slam dunk contest.
Right, Dominique Wilkins, Michael Jordan.
Kobe Bryant has been
Julius
in the slam
Erving,
dunk contest.
Right.
Dominique Wilkins.
How about that picture of the 84 slam dunk contest?
And
it's like
you've got some G League dude that's been there, played 4 games.
Derek, you've seen that famous photo of the 84 dunk contest. I mean, Terrence Stansberry was there.
Yeah.
But it's like Orlando Woolridge and
Larry Nance,
and Michael Jordan and Dominique Wilkins. I mean, come on.
Of course, you always have like guys that are nobodies that are in there, but you got to at least have somebody.
I
that's
just
gonna
think
pull it in.
the problem with the dunk contest is that, at no discredit to the people involved, there are no dunks left to do.
Yeah,
I mean, basically everything's been done, right?
And no more bigs. Dwight Howard was the exception to the rule. We got to stop letting tall guys in the dunk contest. The tall guy dunks suck.
Okay.
Don't you agree? I think tall guy dunks are stupid.
Yeah, I think it's all pretty played out.
So, I mean, yeah.
But the three-point contest is still cool.
Should they dump the game format? Sure, but give me an option. Right? What do you do if you dump the game format? Because you have to do something. Second term, Biter Bowl Bleep. The Big Ten won't have multiple teams in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament.
I'm going to say that's bull, Schultz. I think between
you're going to have a lot. You're going to have like 9 teams make the tournament, so that's a lot of bites.
So you're saying they only need 2 to get to the Sweet 16 for this? Yeah, I mean, Purdue or Indiana is going to make the Sweet 16, if not both, and then between
Northwestern, Maryland
plays physical enough. I could see them kind of making
State.
a run. Illinois,
maybe.
Somebody will get hot.
The problem is that once you get past Purdue and Indiana, you're going to have a bunch of teams playing in the 8, 9, and 7, 10 games.
You're right.
So they're going to have to beat
coin flips.
Yeah, they're going to have to beat a big.
But one of those teams, I'll make. I will make you this. I'll make you this wager. There will not be one team that goes the furthest in the Big Ten. Of the Big Ten teams, no one will go further. How do I word this? The team that goes the furthest in the NCAA tournament out of the Big Ten, will have another Big Ten team with them in that same level, and then they both will lose. So in other words, I don't think there's going to be one team that goes the furthest. I think there will be 2 that go into the Elite
league
8.
gets eliminated in the Sweet 16. Yeah,
with 2 teams, correct?
Yeah, no, I'm.
But there's going to be somebody. Mark my words. There is going to be between Illinois, Maryland. I don't know that it would be Northwestern, and I hate to say that. I'm just biasing history there. But there's going to be somebody else in the Big Ten that makes a run along with an Indiana or Purdue into the Elite 8.
If I had to put an over-under on it, Big Ten teams in the Sweet 16, I'd put it at 2.5.
That's a fair number.
So I'll buy it. I'll say bull bleep because that means I think 2 are going to make it. But 2.5 I think is about the max. Fair. And then finally, President's Day should still be a holiday.
Yeah. Why shouldn't it be?
I don't know. We talk about Washington and Lincoln enough, don't we?
Start removing history. That means you're forgetting it.
They're also. My problem is, I think you need to discuss these figures. Here's me on my soapbox with nuance, but also not demand that they pass a 21st century purity test because not even Abe Lincoln is going to pass a 2023 purity test for some of his previous views on slavery and deportation and all of that, colonization. Understood. So that's all that I'll say about that. But it is a weird. Like my kid's off school today. And you were technically off. No, we were supposed to be off, right?
It was a corporate holiday
for the radio show. I didn't know.
I didn't know until I pulled in. I'm like, where is everybody?
I honestly didn't know people still got President's Day off outside of like mailmen.
A lot of when I was in school, we got President's Day off, and then Dr. King became a holiday, rightly so.
Yeah.
And so we got Dr. King Day off, but we went on President's Day because we had just gotten off for Dr. King Day.
So it was a swap.
Yeah, and I think then they might have alternated by year.
Gotcha.
One or the other. Derek, when I was really little, we got Lincoln's birthday and Washington.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, very, very, very early on. I think in the very late '80s, we still had that, and then it changed over to just one cumulative President's Day.
Right.
Let's talk college hoops. While we were kind of on the topic there, talking about the Big Ten, Purdue's in a weird spot here, Jake, because I think you know this from knowing Purdue fans. They're prone to panic.
They're waiting.
Whenever something happens. But for the people that are panicking right now, no, I don't want to look over my shoulder. I can see it up on the monitor right here.
Wonderful.
For the people that are panicking right now, those same people would be just as panicked if Purdue was 27-1. Because the tournament is what it is. It doesn't matter if you've got 1 loss, 2 loss, 9 loss, 10 loss. It's a single elimination tournament, and anything can happen. It's kind of a crapshoot.
I'm trying to think of what my cousin Doug
I like the response against Ohio State. The second half against Maryland was probably the worst half that they played all year. They gave up a 23-4 run at one portion of that half. It was not pretty. But Maryland is a tough place to play. Northwestern is a tough place to play. Indiana is a tough team to play. So I think some of this is just the scheduling goblins kind of jumping up and biting Purdue a little bit.
My cousin Doug, who is a Purdue alum, big Purdue fan.
And Purdue backer,
sent me the following text. 20 wins every year with a check. That's the only expectation for a Purdue fan. Beyond that, our hopes turn to fears, and we're there now.
Yeah. They just wait. It's a lot like Reds fans. You wait for the other shoe to drop.
Right.
But still, they're in a great spot. They're going to very likely win not only the Big Ten championship, but the outright Big Ten championship. They're very likely still, where we sit today, going to be a 1 seed, or at worst a 2.
I was unfamiliar with, it's just the first year that they've done this, maybe the second, where the NCAA tournament releases their top 4 seeds?
No, yeah, they'd been doing it. I think this is maybe the 3rd or 4th year that they've done it, yeah.
So Indiana was a 4 seed, and Purdue is still a 1 seed.
For clarity's sake.
Purdue had a bump in the road, but they've got to hope it's that. So in your opinion, that's a bump in the road for Purdue, or that is an unfortunate, necessary lane change?
I'm not one that believes that, it was important for them to lose. It wasn't important for them to get
destroyed. But they lost,
in the second half by Maryland.
Right.
But Purdue's done a lot this year. A lot of their wins have aged well. Like that Marquette win has aged very well.
Gonzaga's aged well.
Yeah.
Because Gonzaga's Gonzaga's the only team to beat Alabama.
Yeah. And the good news is that playing in that league, Gonzaga's just going to stack wins because it's that.
Except for our boy Randy Bennett.
It's that league. Yeah, I guess except for Randy Bennett. But Purdue has had some wins. Duke has not aged well, but there are some other ones that have aged well for Purdue. So it's a good resume.
Speaking of aging well, how about Indiana's win over North Carolina?
And Xavier.
No, but Carolina may not even make the tournament.
Oh, I know. Yeah, that hasn't aged well at all. Yeah.
I mean, that was a win. It was like, yes, Indiana got a top 10 win. And, I mean, they are terrible.
Yeah, really rough. I saw something that I think the last preseason number 1 hasn't missed the tournament outright in 40 years.
Right.
And I don't remember who it was now that I say that. NC State or somebody?
Virginia?
Maybe. I don't know. Somebody at Schultz975 at Jay Query, if you know the answer to that, shoot us a tweet.
You would look that up. I'll look that up. I'll look that up during the
break. Then, of course, Purdue and Indiana playing one another. I don't really know what to make of Indiana's week. Indiana had a tough game against Northwestern where they were terrible in the first half and they rallied. They gave themselves a chance in the second half, and the way that it was officiated, whatever. It is what it is. Big Ten officiating stinks. We all know that. And then that Illinois game was a game that felt like they were going to lose for 39 and a half minutes, and they won. Kind of a dead effort, Saturday afternoon, sleepy sort of crowd. It was just, I don't know how much you watched of that. It was just kind of a blah game that they trailed by 5, 6, 7 points. And then I guess you got to give them credit. Miller Kopp had a good game. Anytime you have the best player on the floor, you're going to have a shot.
I mean,
and more times than not, they have the best player on the floor.
Does it hurt as Purdue and Indiana get set to tussle on Saturday? Does it hurt Purdue having the time off? They got the whole week off.
No, because I think it's good A for rest and B, Ohio State is completely checked out, right? But they bludgeoned them in that game, so I think it's good to just kind of sit on that performance as opposed to sitting on the Maryland performance.
Fair,
yeah. And then we already discussed Butler from earlier. It's just one of those things. If I could hit a button right now and go to November of 2023 for them, I would hit that button.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And get it over with. My basement would be done by then, thanks to Chateau Kitchens. There we go. Round it all into form. We got more to get to, including most interesting presidents. This is a topic that both Jake and I are passionate about. Our Sage Move of the Week, and more still to come. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned, and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group. Thanks to Vince and Jordan for being on the other side. Where is everybody today? Where's Rake?
It's President's
Day. Where's JD?
Every preseason number 1 team has made the tournament since the field expanded in 1985. The last preseason number 1 to not make the tournament, I'm still looking for here.
Okay.
I'll let you know.
We were discussing during the break, and Vince was actually in this section with me. On Wednesday night, I went to the Pacers Bulls game, and embarrassingly, just for whatever reason, not just COVID, but just life getting in the way, I hadn't been to a Pacers game since the Victor Oladipo return game.
Really?
In February of 2020. That was the last time I'd been inside Gamebridge Fieldhouse, but I had not been to a Pacers game. And we were in Section 5, and they have this, like, club level, for lack of a better term, there's this place underneath that you go under the stands, and there's, like, a bar and then two separate not restaurants, but, like, grills where they can cook up food, sandwiches on one side, and then I think, like, entrees on the other side. And I was trying to think to myself, I was like, what was this?
So this is
when they renovated
this
it.
Is underneath.
Yeah. So I was in Section 5, row 1, and like 5 rows behind me, you would go into the tunnel.
I'm confused by this. You were in row 1.
But Shannon was 3 rows in front of me.
But you took a picture of my seats, which were in front of you.
Yeah. So it was row 1 of the section. Your seats are row 2 of the court. It's different.
Okay.
So when you sit down, both of your feet are on actual NBA hardwood, correct? Now?
Basically. Yeah.
Whereas they've sectioned that off. Remember, you used to be able to just walk right up into those seats, and they put
it's weird because when you walk out to the seats that we're in, and this is my only the renovations to Banker's Life are amazing.
Gamebridge.
Gamebridge, excuse me.
Get in post 3, 2, 1.
Okay. The renovations to Conseco, right?
Oh God, just forget it. Just go. Go with your point.
Are amazing, but you're kind of corralled.
Yeah.
It feels like you're on an airplane and you got to sit like in your little row in your little section and there's no moving around. It's difficult to like see other people and talk to other people. But the area where you are, you're saying under those seats there's a bar, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get to it?
You go through, there's like a walk-through right there. So I go up 5 rows and then there's a tunnel that takes me through there. Yeah.
I don't know what would have been there.
I think they just changed the angle. I'm sure the engineers just changed the angle of the seats and they made it for more room because it's not a huge space.
But Derek, that's why when people will turn on a game and send a tweet that says like there's nobody at the Pacer game, and I'm like, yeah, but every seat now has its own club section.
I know, it's crazy.
So you have no idea how many people are there that you're not seeing on television.
It's just it's an amazing building.
Now, is that the area where you are? Is that bar? Is it a cash bar?
Yeah. It's not like au gratis, like Shannon's friends and family VIP area.
Right.
I think it's not what the club used to be because the club level was the second level. This was on the first level.
Well, the thing that surprises me, and I'm grateful for it and I enjoy it, but it does surprise me that the courtside seating comes with the bar that is a gratis bar. I mean, it's obviously included in the price of the ticket.
Yeah.
But considering that you're giving free alcohol to people that are sitting on the floor.
It is, yeah. It's a little surprising, yeah.
But there hasn't really been any issue that I know, so I guess that's good.
But I'll maintain it's Indy's best sports facility.
Oh. Well.
Okay. They just put in video boards like 3 or 4 years ago at IMS. I mean, I love IMS. Okay, how about this?
I get
vibes-wise, IMS is the best one. But in terms of
amenities,
up-to-date amenities, experience,
correct.
All of that, if we're grading it, the most positive cumulative GPA would be Gamebridge Fieldhouse.
I'm glad you mentioned sports facilities because I want to get off on this rant.
Oh, boy. I know where this is going.
How did this come to pass?
The 11 Park?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd been kicked around for years.
And the last that I heard when it went to the State House voting, and I'm sure I'm wrong in this, but the last that I remember hearing was that basically the Indy 11, it was agreed upon that there wouldn't even be the discussion of funding for a new stadium until there was like some sort of a guarantee in writing that they were going to be an MLS franchise. Since then, they've gone down a level. They went from the NASL, if I'm not mistaken, to the USL. I looked it up. They averaged 5,500 fans a game.
Well, it's not down anymore because I don't think the ASL even exists.
Whatever it is. But my point being, they're not within striking distance of the MLS. The MLS has a at last check, a $200 million expansion fee, which probably is higher than that now. The last go-round of expansion for the MLS, Indianapolis wasn't even in the discussion. If the Indy 11, the Keystone Group that is putting together this stadium is the same ownership group as the Indy 11. I don't know if that was, I would assume that construction had to be put up for bid. If they want to build a new stadium that's 22,000 seats and the entire project is upward close to $1 billion, if they want to do that with private funding, have at. There should not be a single penny of tax dollars that goes into this in any way, shape, or form. I don't care if we're talking about user tax, whatever it might be. When we built the largest publicly subsidized building in the history of the United States for sports, Lucas Oil Stadium, we were told as taxpayers it was a one-size-fits-all, last resort, never going to come back for another sports dollar, because it was to take care of all multi-purpose venues moving forward. Now here we are inside of 2 decades of that, and you want to build a $1 billion facility. But wait, there's more, because they're going to add office space and restaurants. Champs left downtown, still empty. Palomino left downtown, still empty. Hard Rock Cafe left downtown, still empty. Right? I could go on and on and on.
And turntables or whatever that
Rock
was,
Bottom
right?
left downtown, still
gone.
empty. Right?
Yeah.
There are holes all over downtown in office space. Salesforce may never go back into the Salesforce Tower. That building right now is at what, 40% occupancy? There are office spaces. Downtown Indianapolis is hemorrhaging office space.
Yeah.
How many people even have gone back to work after COVID as opposed to doing work from home? And you want to build 205,000 square feet of office space? Fine. If they want to flush away their money, have at. Don't ask for a single penny of public tax dollars.
I think the problem that downtown's having right now is that the Miles Square is really struggling. Mass Ave's vibrant.
You're right.
Like, there are other areas of downtown that are really cooking right now.
But Derek, you're talking about, and again, I want to make emphatically clear here, okay? This has nothing to do with the sport of soccer. It has nothing to do with the fabulous, loyal fans of the Indy 11. It has really nothing to do with the Indy 11, other than I think that there is some weird stuff going on between the ownership that also just happens to be the one getting this contract. But this is about the Indy 11 being victimized by the worst public dollar appropriation of all time with Lucas Oil Stadium and $720 million that we were told was a one-size-fits-all project. That's it. At some point, you've got to draw your line in the sand and say, no more. You're no more. And that area that you're talking about, there's a reason that land was available. It was not only originally a mass pioneer cemetery that they upturned to put in a project now that has like oil underneath it. That land, there's a reason it was available. And you're telling me you're going to turn it into Bottle Works? Good luck.
And not everything can be Bottle Works.
Correct.
Right? You see one Bottle Works. Let's put 8 of them across the city. Indianapolis can't support all that. No, it just goes back to, it almost doesn't matter what the deal is, Jake, because it goes back to the uncomfortableness, for lack of a better word, discomfort with public money going to these things when there are so many infrastructure issues right now in Indianapolis. And there's a schools issue in Indianapolis. There's a roads issue in Indianapolis. There's a hunger issue in Indianapolis. There's a food issue in Indianapolis. There are all these things that we can check. Homelessness issue in Indianapolis. And yet, it's $1 billion.
When I go to the IndyCar race in St. Pete, you've been to St. Petersburg, right?
Yeah.
Watch the IndyCar race in St. Petersburg. They go past an old stadium called Al Lang Stadium. It's just a big concrete stadium.
Tampa Bay Rowdies, right?
Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Yeah.
Same league as the Indy 11. They play in a baseball stadium that was used for St. Pete's AAA ball club in the 60s. A 70-year-old stadium that is a concrete slab with bleachers in it. It looks like our Victory Field or Busch Stadium, as it was better known, on 16th Street. That's where, in a bigger market, top 10 television market, that's where their soccer team plays. In the same league. And the Indy 11 need a 22,000-seat stadium. They've never averaged more than 10,000 for a year.
And the MLS dream, the problem with that is that you got a team in Cincinnati, you have a team in Columbus, you have a team in St. Louis, you have a team in Chicago, you have a team in Nashville.
Yeah. $200 million expansion fee.
Well, that too, but what is the motivation for MLS to airdrop a team in Indianapolis? We got this covered. We got this map is check.
Correct.
So, I don't know. Part of me is like, people take it as a personal insult to them if they're soccer fans. I really like the Indy 11. I think they put together a great product and all of that. But, people think of us as sports guys. I'm not always going to toe the company line when it comes to this. First and foremost, I'm a citizen of Indianapolis.
Derek, I think most people in this town, even soccer fans, I've talked to people. I talked to one guy who's from Cincinnati he plays soccer 3 times a week. Biggest soccer fan there is. And he's like, yeah, man, it doesn't add up. It does not add up.
Yeah. I love sports, but I'd rather not have to swerve to hit potholes. I'd rather have a public school that my son could attend without having to worry about a lottery.
Right.
And all of that, that's or have it be more equitable when it comes to that, but none of this money.
You want to do stuff like this, spend the money and turn Union Station into the largest sports book in the Midwest, and then just sit there and let, like in Shawshank Redemption, man, let the money roll in. Let the money roll in, and then spend it on your roads, your schools, and you can do whatever you want with soccer stadiums.
There we go.
And then we'll get my Metrolink going.
I didn't have this rant in our notes, but now we're going to have to go to our final break and squeeze everything into the final break because Jake's got to go on a rant.
It's a good rant.
So we'll come back, final break, and then get to everything that we have not yet gotten to because
Sorry.
Jake talks too much, including our most interesting presidents. I was really excited about that topic, and you're it's Corey and
the
Schultz.
one that didn't spend $200 million on something.
ISC Sports Network.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
At Bailey & Wood, we pride ourselves on our 5-star customer service. But at our core, we're a family. Family owned and family to our customers, staff, and our community. From charity events to recognizing hometown heroes, we prioritize giving back to our communities that have always supported our growth. So let us help you get your dream home today.
Hey, AC.
Nice snap.
Mortgages and a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Back for a final time, it's Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz on ISC Sports Network alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. Jordan just came in and said, okay, you guys have 45 seconds to fit everything in, or we can go a little bit over. So we're going to go a little bit over with this show.
I just got an email here, Derek. You tell me if this is a
No,
scam.
we don't have time for your scam.
Unusual sign-in
We do not have time
activity.
for it.
A user from
Don't have time for it.
Moscow just logged into your account from a new device.
I did want to point out our Lou Malnati's delivery code. Sorry, over here. QNS Freedel 23 free delivery for our friends at Lou Malnati's Pizza. Order.loumalnatis.com. Broad Ripple, West 86th Street, Greenwood, coming soon to Avon, and then up in Carmel as well. So wanted to make sure that I always point the wrong way. Make sure that we made mention of our free delivery code, QNS Freedel. Even if you're calling it in, just relay them that code, and they will give you free delivery at Lou Malnati's. I know some of our viewers have already taken advantage of that. Ball State Cards in 60, thanks to our friends at Ball State. BallStateSports.com for tickets to Worthen Arena, where you could see either the men or women fight their way to a MAC title, because both are in contention right now.
How about that?
The women had their 10-game winning streak, unfortunately snapped by Northern Illinois, but still 22-5, 12-2. They're in a 3-way tie atop the MAC standings. They host Western Michigan Wednesday and Toledo on Saturday. So 2 home games for the Ball State ladies coming up here. And then the men, with Michael Lewis, also had their winning streak snapped last week, but won their other game, 19-8, 10-4. They host MAC leader Kent State, so a really big one for Ball State on Tuesday night. And Michael Lewis was the rever for the Pacers game on Wednesday.
Have you noticed
in attendance?
You drive on 465 on the northwest side, right?
I mean, rarely, but yeah, sometimes.
The pyramids?
Yeah, sure.
Is that?
Yeah, it does. It is a play on that, yeah.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Have you talked to him?
No, it's not even the right direction for Ball State. Wouldn't it be something off 69? So like Top Golf and IKEA and I don't know, whatever the hell. Like that's what the prongs of the
You think so?
quaff should be. Yeah.
So you got IKEA.
BSU ticket.
And so what would the
Ball
third
State
one be?
Sports. Don't actually touch the screen. You know that, right? You're not supposed to touch the screen.
Scatterfield?
Jordan, he's touching
And
the screen
Anderson?
in here with the pen. Please don't do that. This is not our property.
Why? Is
Okay,
it gonna
you
slide
could
it?
scratch it.
Is this
No,
like
just
is it like the
don't-
election
you
night?
know, just relax.
Okay.
It is not. No, it's not touchscreen. Just don't
Why?
try
If
to be
it's
a
not
mature
touchscreen, then
adult.
why are you worried about me touching it?
Just because it's not a touchscreen, which means don't touch it. That's what it means.
Why,
not a
why are
touchscreen.
you so, I've never seen you like this.
I don't want to break anything. I'm not an
I'm not
employee
breaking
here
anything.
anymore, so
Okay, I'm not
we have to
breaking
pay for
anything.
this out of our own pocket if we break anything that's in here.
What brand is
This is the only thing that's mine.
What brand is that? What right there? What does
Okay.
it say? Toshiba?
So go see the Ball State Cardinals
Sounds like
this
touch,
week.
doesn't it?
888 BSU ticket, ballstatesports.com. It's the worst show that we've ever done. Our friends at Love Heating and Cooling and our Love That Play.
You went
Sorry.
off on, for 10 minutes. We got poo talk.
No,
I
that's not
touch
why.
a screen and all hell breaks loose.
It's our play of the day, play of the week, whatever it is. 353-2141, love-hvac.com. We love our friends at Love Heating and Cooling, and we're very sorry to Chris and John Love that we have to hustle through this because we want to provide
I love Love Heating and Air. Been
proper
around since
time.
You know what? You know
to
what's
each
not
of our
fast?
great show sponsors.
The rate in which they get to your house, if you need any sort of maintenance at Love Heating and Air, that is fast, right? What's not fast is the amount of time that they've been in business, because over 100 years now for Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com, as Derek had mentioned, 317-353-2141, our favorite play of the weekend. For me, it's very simple. Watching Reggie Miller get ecstatic and excited to watch a three-point shooter wearing a Pacer uniform, and it was not Buddy Hield, who had surpassed his record for most three-pointers in a season by an Indiana Pacer even before the All-Star break, but rather Tyrese Halliburton, because how many points did he get in his prolific round as the three-point shootout? 31, which is the number for Reggie Miller. All of that coming together. For me, Derek, my favorite play of the week.
I thought it was cool that both Pacers made the final round.
For sure.
Even though neither of them won.
It's a little anticlimactic.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of a it was anticlimactic for Halliburton to go from 31 to, 15 or
Do you know what
whatever
you
he had.
need in order to be a good three-point shooter?
What's that?
Perfect touch.
Okay. Don't break the screen. 353-2141, love-hvac.com. Matt Stolman and I we'd rotate whose house held the sleepover, but we'd sleep over the entire All-Star weekend, and then we would make little charts of what happened. This was in the pre-internet days. So we'd write the scores of each player and we'd take them into school.
How'd that go over with the chicks?
Not great. Stolman and I thought it was great, but yeah, did not go over too great with anybody else.
Okay.
We have like 2 minutes for most interesting presidents.
My favorite president, of course, is James K. Polk, who basically said, I'm going to do one term. And he had a number of different things he wanted to do. The westward expansion, he seized the Old Southwest. He helped out with Manifest Destiny. Teddy Roosevelt was a pretty fascinating guy.
Yeah.
You got the Rough Riders and the whole – but, I didn't realize Teddy Roosevelt was a boxer, and then he apparently would spar people like in the Oval Office. Like, hey, guess what? You get to spar with –
and he's the president, so you have to let him beat on you, right?
I
Pretty
guess,
much.
yeah.
That would suck.
Abe Lincoln is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame. Do you know that?
No, that.
You're a wrestler?
Yeah.
But you would know.
Two of my favorites, two guys that are very underappreciated but had impactful presidencies because of what they did and carrying it forward. Ulysses Grant.
Okay. I know you read a book about him, right?
Did, yes. And then there was a disputed election for his successor, and some of the buttons he pressed were the right buttons as far as that was concerned. And a guy that passed a ton of legislation that is still felt today, Lyndon Johnson, who we never talk about because of the disasters of Vietnam.
Right.
But that's another
From a
one.
civil rights standpoint, he was amazing.
Oh, yeah, but all these social service programs and
by the way, Derek, in talking about like social services and humanitarian efforts, best wishes, of course, over the next couple of weeks for Jimmy Carter, who we now know has gone into hospice care at the age of 98. He has lived longer after his presidency than any man in U.S. history. He also is the oldest president in terms of his age at 98. He's been married for 76 years. And his example of his work after the presidency in terms of just humanitarian efforts are something in which anybody should aspire.
Yeah, amen. It was a great life.
Was not a great president, admittedly, but a great man.
An incredible life, a great man who truly cared about others, which is nice. Jake's still touching the screen. Thanks to Vince. Thanks to Jordan. I don't know. Hopefully you're not still watching. Hopefully you never see this. So I don't know. Bye.
I'd like to thank you for
I guess if you're
sticking
here,
around.
hopefully you come back next week.
Send
if we have
me
a show next
tweet
week.
if you're still watching.
See you
At
then.
Jake Query. Jakequery.
Bye. Corey and Schultz.
Okay.